Hey, look at that. It's time for therapy.
Welcome to the first ever Nate the Bullitt Podcast. NateTheBullitt.com. At Nate the Bullitt on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. It's all there at NateTheBullitt.com. Email info at NateTheBullitt.com. BULLITT. Well, the kickoff of the Nate the Bullitt Podcast is brought to you by Corova Cannabis Edibles. Not that they know that. I just thought I'd let you know I consumed around 65 milligrams about 45 minutes ago. And seeing how they're my brand of choice, why not throw in a plug like anyone's going to hear it? Cannabis and its countless benefits will be a regular subject on the show, so I doubt they'll mind. And remember, start slow with edibles if you've never had them or if you rarely do them. Panic attacks are only funny after the fact. And then you do a podcast. This half hour is also sponsored by Fun Guy Storytime, a little book I'll be reading to you every other show. I found it in my sister's room not long after me and my dog Harvey found that little alien in the tool shed all those years ago. I think it was 1982. Who is Nate the Bullitt, and what will the podcast entail besides cannabis? Nate the Bullitt is Howard Beale's grandson, but he doesn't have a TV show, and he's mad as hell like his grandfather. And he don't want to take it no mo. That's a joke. The truth is he's the grown-up Mikey from the Goonies. That may be a joke as well. Did you know Chunk is a lawyer? That's actually true. I've actually seen him at the courthouse. I'm not going to say why I was there, but I've actually seen him there. It was pretty cool. He's bald. But I already knew that he was a lawyer, so I recognized him fairly easily, and he was very nice. And moving on. If any semblance of following gets going for this show, there'll probably be a drinking game for all my TV and movie references, but I'd rather you hit a bong, J, or bowl, or dab, whatever. I was trying to keep it at the 3, but right now, Nate the Bullitt is me, Wayne Roberts, and Jared Sue, two dudes here in Los Angeles, wanting another creative outlet for ourselves. I'm the voice performer. Jared's more the mechanic. He handles the visuals and the website and helps me focus. You may be hearing me, but the logo was him. I love that logo. The kanji is the hemp kanji, by the way, if anybody's wondering. So, along with my 30 minutes of audio nonsense and hopefully help and education and fun here, and an hour or more when we start doing guests. We'll be also doing a bunch of videos and other fun stuff. Can't wait to see what Jared comes up with a few things that we're working on right now. It's going to be fun. Who am I? Just some crazy cat that loves talking about cannabis, psychedelics, and solutions, like the ideas of a natural law, resource-based economy for the many problems we face here in the world. And Jared was crazy enough to help me share these thoughts. I come from a radio background, but mostly talk radio, but have dipped my toe many areas of performing. I've done some film and TV work. That's how I met Jared. He cast me in a film of his a few years ago called Panopticon, and somehow I didn't make him hate me. I tried like hell. But actually today he texted me not too long ago telling me that Panopticon was just accepted into a festival here in Los Angeles in March. And I'll most likely be on crutches. Well, I will be on crutches for it. Having surgery February 15th. Was supposed to be last month, the 14th, but a ding-dang job got in the way, so I had to postpone my surgery on my foot. I need to have the Liz Frank ligament reattached. I broke it and first told that it was only one bone that was broken, but Subsequently found out it was 2 plus the ligament. And all that time I was telling that first doctor, man, something's not right, but he wouldn't listen. So I'm on to the second doctor, and he's really cool. And I felt so bad having to cancel the night before, postpone the surgery the night before. That was, I was sat there for a while going, what do I do? What do I do? Do I take the job? Do I go ahead and say screw it and get my surgery and not take that gig? And that voice gig could turn out to, I have no idea what money that could be. It could be a $5,000 job. It could end up being an $80,000 job. I have absolutely no clue. So what do? I don't know. I don't know. And that's what I did for 45 minutes on my couch. I just sat there. I don't know. And I took the job. Money won. Disability was getting low, so it kind of had to. I've also done a few plays and some stand-up, but I've always focused on voiceover and the whole radio thing. And because of my talk radio background, why not do this? And a lot of people have asked why the hell aren't you doing a podcast so you don't have to sit in my ear and go psychedelics, cannabis, natural law resource-based economy, zeitgeist movement. So I said, all right, fine, I'll do it. And if you want to push play and hear it in a more entertaining way, you go ahead. I doubt they will. I'm, of course, speaking of my family. And, I got to take a break. Hold on 1 second. It's 7 minutes past the hour. Time for 2-minute fun guy story time with Kitty Cat in the bowling alley arcade. There was once a little girl named Dorothy who had a little dog named Papa Smurf. Dorothy was actually 22, but never really felt more mature than 10 years old because of the strange ways of the world. Dorothy was enchanted with the stories of One-Eyed Willie, a local drug smuggler in her small town back in the 1970s. Dorothy loved to read. As she would sit for hours, combing the internets, Papa Smurf would sit in Dorothy's lap, always knowing she was on to something. Sometimes, you'd hear a grunt or tiny bark that sounded very similar to a shaman chuckling. One Christmas, Dorothy decided to look into what One-Eyed Willie thought of this special time of the year. As it turned out, Willie had a peculiar sense of humor. According to his longtime friend Shaggy, Willie loved to make Christmas ornaments. In fact, what he really loved to do was grow his Christmas ornaments. Like Dorothy, Willie was also a history buff, especially of the stories of the indigenous peoples of Siberia. He noticed that before our time, and still today, one of their traditions was to pick the red and white, sometimes golden, mushrooms from under the pine trees. Wow! The same mushroom from that Alice story she'd read? Along with many others, like the series about the little blue people? Dorothy wondered aloud. This made Papa Smurf pant profusely. But again, it seemed a lot more like a chuckle. As she continued down her quest for knowledge path, Dorothy saw what One-Eyed Willie saw, that after picking them, they'd set the mushrooms in the trees, where the gorgeous sun would warm and... And we're back. 2-minute fun guy story time. We'll have that every other episode, so I guess it'll be the odds, and there'll be another story time for the evens. It's fun putting that it was fun finding that story. I wonder where it's going. A lot of familiar names. It's kind of like a deja vu type thing. I don't know, is it? Maybe not. Where was I? My background. Talk radio. Why not do this? A lot of people have said, why aren't you? So I'm doing it, damn it. And luckily with Jared, we'll be able to do a lot more than just this. The podcasts is I'm getting to be an old man. I'm 45 years old, and as far as I know here on January 3rd, 2017, podcasts are probably going out like Facebook, for all I know. And that's my timing. Arrive while everyone's leaving. Gotta fix that, man. But though I like to perform and run my mouth, my name and face would make this feel more self-indulgent than it already does, so I stuck a couple of favorite character names together. Nate Fisher from 6 Feet Under and Frank Bullitt, Steve McQueen from the movie Bullitt. The poster for that film has been on my wall for so many years that spelling of the word bullet is burned into my brain. And the show is kind of a bullet hopefully, into the corporate banking war machine that runs the world. And Nate Fisher, Peter Krause, awesome job. He was a rebel, man. So I know I'm not alone in these crazy thoughts I have on helping the world be a better place. So Nate the Bullitt is a symbol for truth and silliness. And maybe if that drinking game I mentioned gets started, those people should be called the Bullets. Not a bad nickname for fans. I smell t-shirts and hoodies made of hemp, Jared. He just ended up with another responsibility. I just got a text. Ooh, that tickled. But we actually do have that minimal swag in the plans and hoping to end up with a good hemp company for a sponsor. Or two. Hell, how about 3? You know, industrial hemp can replace most of what petroleum does without the poison and destruction, and I believe the public demand for it to replace oil is one of the ways of us bettering the world, but many of us don't really know how great it is. I didn't really get it until a little over a decade ago. I mean, the purposeful demonization of cannabis through the years has kept many from even looking, and that's also always part of why I try to get it across is look for yourself. It's like we were taught to have this reaction to the word hemp and think hippie and rags and only living off the land. That's the reaction I usually get, but it's far from the truth. There's so much stuff, man, and you can't tell it's made of hemp, and it looks great, and it's hemp clothes are fantastic. If you have like a hemp long sleeve, like a hemp hoodie, you could wear that you could wear it in 85 degrees, and it wouldn't feel the same as a normal hoodie, which would make you sweat in 85, 90 degrees. But a hemp one, you're like, man, wow. But at the same time, you think, oh, when it's cold, and it's probably not very good. No. It works. It's amazing. It blew me away. The first couple of, those were the ones that really blew me away. The first couple of T-shirts I got, those were great too. But with the weather changing, that's where I really noticed it. How they breathe and how they're so close. How it's how hemp is so close to us. In so many ways that I'll get into. But I was like, wow, it's so warm, and I'm not sweating in this long sleeve hoodie. And then, whoa, it's 40 degrees, and I go at that, and I'm like, this isn't going to be warm enough, and I stepped out and went, man. So try for yourself. Look for yourself, always. Don't believe me. I want you to see and look for yourself and feel it for yourself. Yourself, self. It's nuts, you know. Many finally look, and after 10 minutes of reading about industrial hemp, usually scream, what the fuck? Why is this shit illegal? It doesn't get you high and can make everything without poisoning people or the environment, and it's renewable. What the fuck? Sometimes I hear that, and if I hear somebody screaming at night or whatever, I go, hey, you know what they just did? I bet it was somebody that just discovered industrial hemp and just started screaming that same shit. My imagination is not mine. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But, and thank you, Jack Herrera, for all your work. If you're not aware of who he was and you look, if you don't think he was a hero, something's wrong. He was the emperor, no clothes. Look up that book. Oh, I bet that's a Southwest flight. But I wanted the first show to be a little more fun, and even though industrial hemp is fucking fun to talk about for me, but I wanted to be a little more fun on the first show. I'll be getting into cannabis a lot, and most of you probably heard enough of it, but it's more about industrial hemp. I talk about. Oh, I gotta take a break. Oop, it's 16 past the hour. Time for a 1-minute bumble scroll on the farm. Let's see. Single guy doing the bumble thing. Here we go. Logging in. I've got 3 matches that we've all kind of ghosted each other. Lisa, Kim, and Tracy. Sorry. The holidays. Monica. Well, you're too far away, but kind of cute, but also hiding yourself a little bit. I'm going with it anyway. Go for it. Janice, interior designer. Wow, really cute. I'm going for her. Toby for a woman's name. That's cool, but I don't know if I can handle that. Oh, she says no Trump supporters. Well, I don't vote at all, so she won't like me. Tahanye. No, I gotta go. So now you know I'm single. But I'm sure you figured out why in the last 17 minutes. You know, I cannot get 25 or 624 out of my head today. I saw it on YouTube on the side. I was watching something, and there was a version of it over there, and I had to click on it. And then there was this one from, I think these guys are from somewhere in Europe, and they recorded themselves, this band doing 25 or 624. It's fucking fantastic. But, so then all these different versions. I'm going back. I watched a version from 71. I watched a version from 76. Man, that Chicago, Chicago's original guitar player, Kath, is that his name? I'm looking it up. Man, could that guy play? And come to find out, I thought I knew a lot about Jimi Hendrix, but apparently one of Jimmy's favorite guitarists was Terry Kath, who actually, of course, I didn't know that much about Chicago, so I started doing my history today on Chicago, just looking through because of the song, and come to find out that poor guy accidentally blew his brains out right in front of his friends. That was a crazy story. But you gotta, if you've never watched them live or whatever, or watched any from him, because he's obviously been gone since 1978, it says. That's when he did that, when that happened. Right up the street, actually, in Woodland Hills. Pull up Chicago, anything before 1978 live, and watch Terry play, and wow. I mean, you already know from the albums if you're a Chicago fan, but I'd never seen him really play. I only knew Chicago from that stuff for the albums, my dad listening to them and stuff, but I only really knew them by looks or who they were from the 80s from MTV. I'd never really done that much, but whoa. And I could see, I'm like, oh, I can see why Jimmy loved watching this guy play. That was crazy. Anyway, wanted the first show to be a little more fun. Well, they're all going to be fucking fun. Damn it. How's the first 20 minutes been for you? Huh? You liking it? Am I talking to nobody now? Did you already turn it off?
Stop being so self-deprecating, man. Jesus Christ, stop that, okay?
Okay. Anyway, I wanted to talk about psychedelics in movies and many of the stories we know. Like I mentioned Mikey from the Goonies earlier, and I really do feel like a grown-up version of him. And being just one of many, 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 and hopefully many, many, many more that see that psychedelics are the core of all religions and very important. Not that I'm saying everybody run out and do them. That's not what I'm saying. Education first. And then if you do them, that's way better with education. But when I caught on, it was like discovering One-Eyed Willie's ship. And, you know, when you do a heroic dose, as Terence McKenna referred to it, 5 or more dried grams, at one of those points, it did feel like I was going down the chute right before, woo, hey, there's the ship. But that's not the first, that's not actually one of the films that I talk about when it comes to the psychedelic stuff. I mean, I guess there's a little bit, it seems like to me now it's in every story. But let's start with, I'm going to get to E.T. That one really trips people out when I talk about E.T. It's fucking psychedelic story, to me anyway. And if you look at that angle, it's not hard to, I'll get to that. But let's start with Batman Begins. Most of us have seen, I'm guessing that whoever's listening to this has most likely seen Batman Begins. Did Bruce Wayne, or did Bruce Wayne not, have to bring a blue flower up to the guy that turned out to be Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson? Remember, it was blue. And at one point, he had crushed it up and everything, and he had to breathe it, and he had to trip and train. But that goes unnoticed. The Force Awakens. When Rey touches the lightsaber, all those visions, one of the visions is of her, a lot of them are, of course, of herself, but one of them goes all the way back to where she's looking at herself when she's a little girl being left on Jakku. And like actually being there. Does that not sound like a Christmas Carol? We'll get to that one. Because if you look up if you've never done ayahuasca or ibogaine, or if you don't know much about them, if you look up the testimonials of people who have done them and their description of what happened, especially with ibogaine with the visions, when I read those, I was like, well, that's a Christmas Carol. It all keeps going back. All these traumas and stuff in the back, and then the future. A Christmas Carol is a psychedelic trip. The guy goes from to all of a sudden, oh my God, I love everybody. Sounds like a psychedelic motherfucking trip. Doesn't it? Anyway, right there in The Force Awakens. I guess you could say it in Empire Strikes Back in a way too, when Luke goes on Dagobah, when Luke goes into the cave and runs into the Vader and he sees his face. That's kind of trippy. But that one's a light one that I never really... Whoa, hold on. It's 24 past the hour. That means it's time for a minute of sports in the prop plane. I grew up a Washington Redskins fan. I'm no longer that much of a fan because of the corporate bullshit of the NFL. It's just ridiculous. Too much money and all these... For some reason, I still have to have that stupid thing to watch on Sunday. But anyway, with my Redskins not making the playoffs, Josh Norman, all that money, says how they played. They played disgusting, despicable. They got to be better. They got to give fans something to cheer for. Hey, you were flagged for 2 personal fouls against Odell Beckham, which you knew full well if you're a real pro, stay away and cut the shit. Act like Barry Sanders. When Barry Sanders retired, so did a lot of class from the NFL. Anyway, playoff picks, 2 teams with no real quarterback in the playoffs. Only edge has to go to Houston for playing at home. Would really like to see the Lions make Pete Carroll cry. The Steelers should make the Dolphins do the same. And if the Giants beat the Packers, it's going to be a shit year. And fuck the Redskins for not changing their name yet. Well then, excuse me, I'll get more into the Redskin stuff, and my dad treating me like I'm still 12 years old, all the way up until a few years ago, with constantly sending me Redskin stuff. My apartment used to be Redskin everything. But anyway, only got 4 minutes left. E.T. E.T., Psychedelic Trip. There's a thing called, if you don't know much about psychedelics, and I'm still a Padawan, but if you look up ego death, sometimes with ego death, somebody is tripping so hard, or they're just having a moment. It's not because sometimes it's because they took way too much, or not too much, but yeah, too much. They overdid it or whatever. Sometimes that can happen, or it can just happen and it's the right dose. But it's basically the loss of self for a few moments, to where you can't even really remember it the way they describe it, because, well, you can look up. There's different levels of it, but it's basically you're like, whoa, you're one with everything. So it's kind of like an ego death. So the self you identify with, that two thing that we have, that two-face, it kind of goes away for a bit. And what's happened sometimes is some people can look like they're in a catatonic state, and if somebody doesn't know that they're tripping, can confuse them to going, are they dead? You know, that's kind of what it could look like, but they're just so still and like, whoa, because there's no sense in moving, because they're in a state of, oh my, they don't even know what, they're back with one. They're touching the source, back to the source for a bit. Now, remember, some people can confuse that and go, are they dead, if they don't know much about what's going on. And that's not frequent, but those things can happen. Anyway, once I learned about that, E.T. hit me in a whole new way. I'm like, wait, E.T. kind of looks like a little fucking mushroom. Number one, it's from space. Mushrooms can live in space, or spores can live in space. It's a whole religious aspect to that as well, and science with fungi. And what had happened with E.T.? Remember, Elliot's sweatshirt was red, the hoodie, and then E.T. helped him fly. There's that whole mushroom thing. But then, E.T., what happened? It seemed at one point that E.T. got sick and died. Ego death. Because when he woke up, what was his first words? E.T., phone home. Back to the source, to the one. Ego death. There was a separate deal. But he wasn't really dead. And when you trip that hard, anyway, when you've got like that, then you have a whole new sense of the UFO thing. If you laughed at UFOs before anybody who's done psychedelics and laughs and scoffs at UFOs, I don't get that. But that's me. Because now I kind of scoffed. I used to work for the show Coast to Coast AM. I used to be part of that show. And that's where at first I was like, I knew the show from before, because we used to run it when I lived somewhere else, because it was syndicated. But that show helped. But my more introduction into psychedelics really helped me go, I'm not scoffing anymore. Some of these people that you hear on these shows and you see this stuff and scoff. But anyway, 7 Dwarfs, Willy Wonka, Chocolate Factory. I didn't even get to that. I got to start wrapping this up, because 30 minutes, the first Nate the Bullitt podcast it's almost over. I can't believe I made it all the way through. I hope you guys had a great time. I hope the 30 minutes was fun. I hope the little bits are fun. I hope you want to hear some more, because I'm going to do more. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, everybody. NateTheBullitt.com. Twitter. All that stuff. You know it. Show number 2 coming soon. Daddy loves you. Stop looking at me, man.